All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Music Producer Revolution. Today is April 26th, 2025, and we've got some music to go through. So far, we've got 5 songs, if we can get through it today. And the first one is from Schmobel here, or we'll call him just Sergey. Sergey here says, yet again, this is another track from their upcoming album, but this one messes with their head and you're not quite sure where to go with it. You're still very early on in the production, and you want us to really pay attention to the end because the main theme is in the end of this file. Big question for you is, should you bring the main theme in earlier or drop in a break about the time where you currently have it? Okay, so let's just write that down. Should we bring in the main theme early? All right. Now while we think about that, let's give this track a listen and see what Sergey has for us here. All right. So, let me just finish writing this down. So, one thing that I really want to commend you on is how you have your sections defined within your track and how you already have your transitions in between the major well, we'll say the core ideas that you have for your drop structures, how you move in between the build and the drop out or the break transition section. It's really fascinating. I wrote down at about a minute and 32 seconds when you introduced the low detuned saws that really kind of filled up that low mid frequency. I really enjoyed that. You know, it was really pleasant, and the way you had it melodically blended in there was really good. Going to your main question though, you had asked Sergey, should you have the main theme in earlier? Honestly, I think you should have the main theme as you currently have it. Um, I the only thing that other thing I could say is you could shorten your intro by contrast, and then because I think it's the way that you have your main theme already kind of works. There's two paths I can see you going. If you cut some of the intro, you can keep things as is and then drop in a break. Um, and then the other method is you could still have the main theme as you've introduced it currently, um, have the break here in the spot that you're thinking of, but then when you make your C drop or your third drop, it's going to be the much more completed version, since you already introduced a lot of the core elements from your main idea just recently within the last 30 seconds. Um, and I think that will put your song probably around 4.5, maybe 5 minutes at that point. I think that is easily another minute to a minute and a half worth of this song that you can actually get out of it. Um, but that's just me. Again, great job there with the transitions. I really like what you're doing, and that's why I think you could also get another like minute out of this song, is because you know how to keep it going. You know how to move in between sections that really helps to tell you the story of your song. All right. So next we have like labs, lil crabs. My goodness, I couldn't read that. You need a bigger screen. All right, this is a trance track by Sergey. This is a trance track, and you just started producing trance recently. You want to do something epic / emotional, but you're still adding some rap vocals to make some kind of weird mix. Curious how what you mean by that. You like brutally honest opinion and advice on everything. Yeah, everything. All right, so little crabs, let's see what you got. It's called "You Don't Want This." Let's see whether or not I want it.
don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. They don't want this. They don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this. Me and all the monsters bonkers. But it's all like that. If I give a girl D, then she call right back. They don't want this.
All right. That was very, well, as Angle Nick here said, cool. No, I really enjoyed that. There was two moments where it was in between the drop out and the build up into the next drop. I have in particular like 2 minutes to 2 minutes 27 seconds. Forgive me. Usually don't nail it like that, but yeah, that section. This is really good use of tension and atmosphere to drive the song. You know, you pulled back a lot of the elements that were going in, a lot of high impact, high energy elements, and by stripping it away, you were able to transition very nicely into this next section where you start to again reintroduce those high energy elements, you know, your drums, your bass line. Really like that. Really impressed with the way you were able to do that. That that section, and again about 3 minutes and 50 seconds. It's a much shorter section there. That really underscores the reason why wave music can mix very, very well with trance music. A lot of the way that you can incorporate those atmospheres, they use a lot of the same techniques, and a lot of the same thought processes go into making a lot of the melodic elements, especially like the arps and the leads as well. There's not too much to say regarding your mix. I personally felt that your bass sounds, your sub bass could be a little bit more alive. I'm sorry, looking at the wrong one. I could feel that your bass could be a little bit more alive. That sub feels like, not necessarily that it's super muddy, but it feels like it should be, I should be able to feel that sub bass rumble just a little bit more than I'm actually feeling it. And then you might want to slightly pan your piano a little bit more, just so that it's not that super harsh, but the delay, maybe you can also pan the wet signal from the delay, because it feels like it's too stacked on top of each other at certain points. And at certain points it sounds like you want that, but towards the end it starts to clash when it comes together as it's supposed to be fading away. Just something to think about. Otherwise, I really enjoyed that. Really like the UK, the drill. Well, I can't even say it. The drill vocals that you use in there for the stabs. You know, I like that. If you want to keep that as part of your style, also, I like that. All right, this is a house track by Here For Your Opinion. See, that's a name that I can look at and actually say. All right, Here For Your Opinion. As I write this down. Too fast for house, but too soft for techno, so we're not sure what genre we are. Curious just to get feedback from everything, from the composition to the vibes to the atmosphere to the arrangement to the mix and master as well. And this is Go Fast. So let's give it a listen and see what we can come up with. All right. Ooh, excuse me. One moment, let me finish writing down some of these notes. All right. So, first, I'll start with your, I don't want to say your big question, but a pressing question. You wanted a classification. I would say that it's still house music, even though it's fast. And I did a search. Apparently, there's a subgenre of house music in the range known as speed house, or it looks like there's also some other ones called fast bass house, which definitely does not sound like what you've done. There's also hard dance as well too, and that doesn't quite sound like hard style or a hard version of house music. So I think speed house is probably the safe bet there. Really like what you did with your variation for your last drop, going into it at 3 minutes 30 seconds, or 3 minutes I believe. So is it 3 minutes 30 seconds? No, it's definitely 3 minutes. Especially even with that little one shot there, that little double clap. I really like that. My biggest tip for you is going to be focused on your mix, and that's going to be to make sure that you equalize out any unnecessary frequencies from your elements. That way you are creating room for your sounds to be fully expressed. One of the base examples I give is to make sure that you have room to have your kick be fully expressed, and you can have that happen primarily with EQ, but then also you have to have it mix well with your bass as well too. And so there's learning how to utilize sidechain compression to help tie that together. With your kick, your bass, and your sub bass, there's not too many other elements that need to have frequencies under 100 hertz. So it's usually okay. I usually start at about 110 hertz if there's anything that's there. And I'll just start to low cut those frequencies out, especially if it's like a lead element, or if it's white noise, or if it's something that's not supposed to really be a low sound anyway. That's just an easier example for me to give. I really enjoyed the vocal hook that you have in there as well too. It's a little bit too wet in my opinion, but I know the effect that you're trying to go for. So one thing that you could try to do as well is automate the dry wet knob of your it's probably just one reverb, but if it's reverb and a delay, or if it's a big chain, you might have to do it with multiple automation filters. But just try automating it so that towards the end of the sample, that's when it becomes more wet, instead of it being a really wet vocal throughout the entire thing. Now it works for some parts of the song, but then other parts of the song it was a bit too repetitive and harsh on the ears. But otherwise, I really liked it, and if this is the type of house music that you make, I could easily see myself vibing to this a lot more. Good job there. Alright, next we have Zpoya. And you're looking for feedback on your house track. You want to keep improving your mixing and your writing. You want to know how the vocals are, how the bass is, did it keep you moving? And it is called Don't Go. Let's give it a listen. summer vibe there. Really like the arrangement structure of your song. It's simple, not in the sense that there's no complexity to your actual song, but like you're introducing us to the main concept of the song early, and then you're taking us through the structure from that introduction to the next drop to a slight reprieve, then going right back into the main elements of it. Really enjoyed your sample selection for your drum kits. The sounds that you picked, from the conga to the different type of shakers that you have on there, really fits the vibe of the track that you're going for, and that is an A+ in my book. For the most part, your mix is pretty much there. I would just go back and check your EQs on some of your elements. Make sure that you have any tails from any reverb or delay, or even just from your audio, that you make sure that it's stopping at the right time so that it doesn't clash with the frequency from some of your other elements. And then I would also maybe in some of your mids just lower them a little bit so that it feels as if it's not so overpowering to the bass. But these are not giant adjustments, these are just small tweaks there. Really impressed with that. Let's see, do you have any other questions about that? Oh yes. The bass. Yeah, going back to what I said about the bass. I would not necessarily raise the volume of the bass. I would try to lower the volume of some of the other elements, not by a whole lot, possibly by just a decibel or maybe a half of a decibel, just to see how the bass feels compared to that. There might be some reason why the bass isn't as rhythmic, the sub bass isn't as rhythmic as it possibly should be. That could be because of the sidechain compression, or it could just be because there isn't a whole lot of movement down there for your particular bass. Otherwise, it still fits with the song, in my opinion. You know, it's not the biggest driver of the song that's really coming from your drums, and that's okay, and that works in the context of this song. All right, our last song of the session from HammondGurka. First song with vocals, like feedback on the mixing, sound design selection, general feedback, so everything. Alright, let's give it a listen.
Egentligen kunde det vara likadan. Jag är på samma plats med en dynamisk marginal. För så mycket i den här världen får mig att vilja falla ner och somna. För jag är trött. Pappa säger med musik borde bli mycket mindre positiva, ge mig negativ kritik. Men mina känslor håller, tack förlåt pappa, men detta är det enda tempot jag kan hålla i. Jag har kommit till en punkt där jag älskar allt, och varför måste hela världen vara så snäll? Eftersom att alla håller hand så känner jag inte för att hitta den där jävla kärleken alls. Jag bara skojar, jag känner mig så helvete snygg. Som varje dag så kommer jag känna mig bäst, och jag tränar mig själv medan jag spöar andras Pokémon. Sen så har jag ju bara bra vänner, så himla bra vänner att vi bor i samma länder. För jag hör verkligen om mig som fan, och det enda vi pratar om är om allt och allt vi kan. Men efter det blir han helt dumma. Om du inte tror mig så checka mitt efternamn. Checka mitt efternamn. Om du inte tror mig så checka mitt efternamn. Som att jag precis vunnit ett krig, inte sen liv igen utan sen alltid. För jag tror på mig själv, har ingen sömnlösa nätter. Men varför ska jag ha det så bra när andra har det så mycket sämre? Jag har 3 jävla aningar, jag har sett det som teoretiska förklaringar. Jag har alltid tyckt att musik är jävligt kul, fast nu handlar allting om att vara snygg, och jag är snygg va. Och tur och kärlek har jag alltid haft, på en jävligt lång tid har jag alltid haft något haft. Och alla tjejer som har gillat mackan har alltid till slut aldrig hittat någon annan. Men jag förstår, för jag sitter bara i mitt rum och tränar mina muskler till stål. Jag kommer klara mig som vuxen. Jag vill alltid känna som idag för från Ikea.
You tried to sneak in the second go around. Alright, let's see. I just was curious if this was your vocals. Just your song with vocals, or like feedback on the mixing, sound design, selection, general feedback. Well, I would say if it is your vocals, you know, big props to you for putting yourself out there and putting your vocals on the track. That's really admirable there. And if it's not your vocals and it's just someone else's vocals, then still, big props to you for working with vocals for the first time and trying to figure out how they actually work in the context of your song. There's a couple different avenues I can go with giving you some advice, but I'll start with probably the easiest one to implement, and that's just going to be utilizing you know, an EQ or a filter to create some variation in your sound. The main parts of your song, which were the pad and the ARP melody, those were very repetitive throughout the song, and there wasn't really any change with them, other than when they entered the song and when they were taken away. What you could do is to create some subtle changes and subtle movement throughout the song, throughout those sections, is you could just have a filter go in or sweep out slowly throughout the length of the bar, or the 16 bars there. You know, just to do something a little bit subtle while the vocal is on top of the song, driving the rest of the verse forward. You know, it doesn't have to be a big thing, just a subtle thing, a small thing. But that's also the, you know, one of those things that you'll learn over time as you continue to put more music out there. So keep up the good work with that. Alright everyone, I think that's going to do it for today. Doesn't look like we have any more songs, so we're going to be wrapping it up. Check the link down in the description if you're looking for a place where you can not only make more music this year, but also collaborate and network with other producers who are trying to do the same exact thing. That's going to be the Weekly WAV community. Again, you can find us at the link down in the description. You can put in your search bar as well, skool.com/WAV. And that'll get you there. You'll send in a membership request, say that you got feedback here on the Music Producer Revolution, or not, don't say that. You know, fill out the information and just let me know how I can help you and how I can serve you there. And I'll see you all again in the next episode. That was a backfire. The next episode of the Music Producer Revolution. Take care.